Chosen one, you did not arrive here by chance. Heaven orchestrated every moment that brought you to this message. This is not coincidence. It is divine timing. You have been followed by unseen eyes, and not all of them are human. The Spirit of God has been watching over you, and so have systems that cannot comprehend the origin of your authority. This word is not merely information. It is a transmission from the throne. You are standing at the intersection between visibility and destiny. The battles you've been facing are not random. They are evidence that the world has recognized something you're still learning to accept. You carry a prophecy of power. Before you were born, heaven decreed that your voice would disturb systems and awaken nations. That decree has now reached its appointed time. You are not being called to hide. You are being called to rise. Every trial you endured was a preparation for governance under divine command. Hear this, chosen one. The government has targeted you not because you are dangerous, but because you are uncontrollable. You are governed by heaven, and no earthly system can predict or manipulate someone whose authority flows from the Spirit of the living God. The powers of the world fear what they cannot own. You represent the collision between divine sovereignty and human systems. The world's rulers sense in you what Pharaoh sensed in Moses, what Herod feared in the infant Christ, a prophetic threat to the continuity of unjust power. This message comes not to frighten you, but to confirm you. Every force observing you is reacting to the seal of heaven on your life. Your resistance has drawn attention because your obedience has drawn power. The more you align with divine instruction, the more unstable the systems of control become. Stay with me until the end. This revelation carries your next divine instruction, and it will redefine how you see power, protection, and purpose forever. Before we continue, pause for a prophetic act. Declare in the comments, "I carry power." Write it not as routine, but as alignment. When you declare it, heaven records your agreement. Every word you type becomes a seal in the Spirit. This is how you participate in the unfolding of prophecy. And as you do, like this video and subscribe. Not as an algorithmic gesture, but as a prophetic act of alignment. Every small step of obedience opens larger doors of revelation. You are not supporting a channel. You are strengthening the voice that speaks your language of destiny. What you are hearing right now is not for entertainment. It's a divine download. So prepare yourself. The revelation that follows will challenge the way you see authority, power, and the purpose behind your opposition. Stay alert, for the next words you hear are meant to activate your spiritual awareness and awaken the ruler within. Chosen one, before we move deeper, hear this with spiritual understanding. God never sends his warriors without equipping them. The Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a step-by-step guide to prosperity, was created for this exact generation. Those called to govern through righteousness, not manipulation. It's a clear 10-step guide to living in divine prosperity, even in your finances. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. You can check it out later, or click now if you're ready to go deeper. Chosen one. The systems of this world have always reacted violently to anything they cannot command. From Pharaoh's Egypt to the empires that rose after, every government has instinctively sensed when heaven was about to shift the balance of power. What you are feeling around you now, the resistance, the strange observation, the sudden suspicion, is not paranoia. It is the same ancient response triggered whenever divine authority begins to move through a human vessel. You are part of that lineage. The day you said yes to your assignment, the atmosphere changed. The unseen forces that manipulate structures took notice. For when God places His breath on someone, even the algorithms of power begin to tremble. The conflict you face is not merely political, it is prophetic. You are a living decree that exposes what is unjust and calls order out of chaos. Your power does not come from visibility, chosen one. It flows from obedience. The government fears you because it cannot trace the source of your strength. You are not sustained by networks, favors, or institutions. Your supply comes from revelation. Every time you listen to God instead of fear, you break a code of control. The systems that rule through manipulation depend on predictability. But you are unpredictable because your compass is divine. This is why the attacks feel strategic. They are not trying to destroy your faith. They are trying to decode it. The enemy studies you like a mystery it cannot solve, because what governs you is not earthly law, but heavenly order. The kingdom you represent is not an idea. It is an administration. Heaven operates by structure, rank, and jurisdiction. The one who walks under divine command is, in essence, an ambassador of a government not of this world. You are that ambassador. Your presence is legal representation of heaven on earth. That is why the world's systems treat you as a foreign authority. They may not understand your language, but they recognize your influence. When you speak truth, it destabilizes deception. When you walk in integrity, it convicts corruption. You are not here to rebel against governments, but to reform them through righteousness. Look at history, chosen one. Every time God raised a voice to challenge oppression, the empire responded with surveillance and accusation. Moses faced Pharaoh's spies. Elijah was hunted by a queen. Daniel was monitored by jealous officials. And Jesus himself was watched day and night by religious and political agents who feared losing control of the people. What is happening to you is not new. It is biblical. The observation you sense is the evidence of your authenticity. The chosen are always watched because their actions carry weight beyond comprehension. There is a spiritual law. The higher your calling, the closer your scrutiny. The reason the pressure has intensified is because you have passed the test of silence. The system thought it could break you through isolation, yet it only revealed your resilience. While they observed, heaven was preparing. While they recorded your every move, God was rewriting your destiny. Every misunderstanding has become proof of your endurance. The watching eyes of men cannot see what the eyes of heaven have already sealed. You are protected by a covenant older than any constitution. And yet, chosen one, you must understand, this conflict is not about you personally. It is about the prophecy you carry. The system recognizes frequencies. It detects patterns of influence. It can sense when someone's voice begins to shape thought, culture, and destiny. The prophecy of power within you vibrates in the unseen realm, announcing that a shift of authority is near. Governments, economies, and institutions respond to that vibration, often without understanding why. The resistance you face is simply the echo of that alarm. Heaven has placed something inside you that destabilizes control because it carries liberation. The true danger for the system is not your presence, it is your awakening. The moment you realize who you are, the fear of the empire becomes justified. The awareness of divine authority is more revolutionary than any political movement because it transfers control from men back to God. That is why the attacks have felt psychological, emotional, even technological. The goal is not to eliminate you, it is to confuse your identity. But identity rooted in revelation cannot be stolen. Once you know whose you are, the opinions of men lose power. The government's fear is the proof of heaven's trust. You are not being watched to be stopped. You are being watched to be witnessed. The enemy studies what God approves. The observation surrounding you is a mirror of your influence. If you were insignificant, you would be ignored. But your very existence challenges the narrative of power built on lies. The prophetic decree on your life is not passive. It is an active current, dismantling invisible structures. Each act of obedience, each prayer whispered in secret, moves spiritual architecture across nations. You must also see this through wisdom. Being chosen does not mean being reckless. Divine authority requires discretion. When Jesus performed miracles, he often said, "Tell no one yet," because timing is governance. Heaven releases revelation through order, not impulse. The system wants you to react, to speak prematurely, to expose strategies not yet mature. But silence is a weapon of kings. There is strength in knowing when to speak and when to stay hidden. The true leader is not one who shouts first, but one who moves last, with precision. Chosen one, do not mistake delay for denial. Heaven's government moves differently from earthly schedules. While the world races to maintain dominance, the Spirit cultivates depth. The waiting you've endured is not punishment. It is positioning. God allows the observation to continue so that, when He reveals you, every eye that doubted will witness the fulfillment of prophecy. They watched to mock you, but they will remain to testify. The same surveillance that sought to trap you will become the platform that broadcasts your vindication. You are being trained in the art of divine governance. Every misunderstanding, every closed door, every strange opposition is part of the curriculum. The throne you are being prepared for requires wisdom that cannot be taught in human institutions. It comes from revelation, humility, and consistency under pressure. So stand firm. The eyes that monitor you will soon bow before what you represent. For you were not chosen to be controlled. You were chosen to command under the government of God. Chosen one, you are now entering the season where heaven exposes the roots of opposition. What seemed like random resistance was, in truth, a coordinated attempt from the realm of darkness to contain what cannot be contained. Systems that thrive on control panic when a soul begins to think prophetically, act with integrity, and walk in divine timing. You are the interruption they feared. The moment you began to listen more to revelation than to instruction from men, you disrupted entire chains of influence. They called it rebellion. Heaven calls it obedience. You are not an enemy of order. You are the restoration of divine order. The more you align with God's will, the more you become a mirror that reveals the corruption hidden behind worldly stability. What they call chaos is actually the cleansing of truth. You have been chosen to show the world that there is a power higher than position and a law stronger than legislation. The government of this world operates through fear because fear is the currency of control. Every empire in history has depended on keeping people afraid of loss, punishment, or rejection. But you, chosen one, are immune to fear because you walk in covenant. Your courage disrupts control more than protest ever could. That is why the system has attempted to intimidate you through scarcity, isolation, or doubt. The moment you refuse to bow to fear, their influence ends. This is why God keeps telling you to stand still. Stillness is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the posture of one who already knows the outcome. Every surveillance, every whisper, every attempt to expose you will fail, because light cannot be shamed. The one who walks in truth does not need to defend himself. Truth becomes his shield. Understand this mystery. Governments and kingdoms are temporary, but authority rooted in God is eternal. You carry a jurisdiction that cannot be revoked by decrees, elections, or propaganda. When heaven crowns a ruler, that coronation is written into eternity's record. You are not here to overthrow, but to overrule by righteousness. Your words have the weight of divine legislation when spoken under the Spirit's direction. That is why silence preceded your season of speech. God had to refine your tongue so that your decrees would build, not destroy. You are not a preacher of rebellion. You are an architect of alignment. And soon, the same institutions that resisted you will seek your counsel, because divine wisdom is about to surpass political knowledge. Chosen one, do not despise the watchful eyes set against you. The same way Daniel was observed by jealous rulers only to be promoted after their schemes failed, you too are in a proving ground. Every rumor, every false accusation, every closed door has been permitted to test your consistency under pressure. Heaven allows exposure to refine your endurance. When the time comes, those who observed you to criticize will witness your coronation. The fire of scrutiny is producing the gold of credibility. Do not rush to clear your name. God is crafting your vindication as part of your legacy. Those who accused will one day testify that you were guided by integrity. That is divine justice, and it cannot be reversed. You are now standing at the border of transformation. The next shift will not come through struggle, but through revelation. Heaven will begin to reveal strategy, specific, practical instruction for governance, decision-making, and influence. This is the stage where you move from being hidden to being positioned. Every lesson you learned in private will now translate into public wisdom. You are the proof that divine governance can exist inside human systems without compromise. And though they tried to monitor you, they will soon recognize that it is safer to align with you than to oppose you. Because when God endorses a life, resistance only multiplies promotion. Prepare your spirit. A new order is forming, and you are one of its cornerstones. Chosen one, the hour has come when the veil between your preparation and your manifestation begins to tear. What you have endured was not designed to break you, but to calibrate you. Every hidden battle, every night of silence, every misunderstood action was training for administration under divine order. Heaven does not release authority without endurance, and you have endured. Now the system that watched you will soon witness you stepping into a role no earthly school could confer. This is not about titles. This is about jurisdiction. You are about to govern with words, with presence, with strategy. That is why the warfare around your mind has been so intense. The enemy always tries to occupy the territory before the rightful ruler arrives. Guard your thoughts now, for they are the council chamber of God inside you. The eyes fixed on you are about to shift from surveillance to audience. What was meant to intimidate will become the platform of your vindication. Just as Joseph moved from the prison to the palace without campaign or compromise, you too will be positioned without manipulation. The very systems that scrutinized you will open their doors because wisdom cannot be denied. You have been hidden like a seed, but seeds grow into trees that alter entire landscapes. The prophetic power you carry is not just an anointing to speak. It is an architecture for governance, an invisible blueprint for reforming structures. This is why God taught you discretion. Timing is the language of kings, and you are learning to speak it. You must now understand your influence as stewardship. Heaven does not entrust authority for self-preservation, but for reformation. Your decisions will ripple through systems you cannot yet see. Each choice must reflect the justice and mercy of the kingdom you represent. Remember, prosperity under heaven is not indulgence. It is proof that righteousness produces fruit. As you step into visibility, resources will follow. This is not a reward, but a responsibility. The government that feared you will soon study you, and when they do, let them find a life that mirrors heaven's integrity. You are to demonstrate that it is possible to lead without corruption, to prosper without oppression, to govern without manipulation. Chosen one, this is your confirmation. The persecution was the prophecy. If you were irrelevant, you would be ignored. But you were watched because you were marked. Every closed door was a test. Every whisper was a signpost. Heaven never allows His chosen to be hidden forever. The season of testing is closing, and the season of commissioning has begun. You will stand in places you never asked for and speak to people you once thought unreachable. Do not fear the stage, fear only disobedience. For now, the same Spirit that sustained you in the shadows will sustain you under the lights. The government has targeted you because you carry God's prophecy of power. But that prophecy was never for you alone. It is for the liberation of systems, the healing of nations, and the restoration of righteous rule on earth. Chosen one, every breath you take now is being counted as preparation for governance. Heaven does not rush. It establishes foundations. You have been built in silence so that you can stand in storms. The same structures that tried to label you will soon invite you to sit at their tables, not as a token, but as a voice of counsel. This is why your character had to be refined before your elevation. Authority without integrity becomes tyranny. But authority rooted in righteousness brings restoration. You are about to model a different kind of leadership, one that does not manipulate with fear, but stewards with wisdom. This is what the prophecy of power truly means. Not domination, but divine administration. You are walking into a moment when governments and systems are destabilizing, searching for answers. They will discover that answers are not in policies alone, but in principles. You are a carrier of those principles. This is why your opposition was so fierce. It was a rehearsal for influence. Heaven is positioning you as a living alternative to failed paradigms. The eyes that tracked you will soon turn into ears that listen. Do not waste energy on resentment. You are not called to punish. You are called to govern. The very structures that watched to entrap you will become the channels through which your assignment flows. If this message is awakening the leader inside you, pay attention. Every true ruler in Scripture was trained not only in authority, but also in abundance. David ruled with wisdom. Joseph managed wealth for nations. Both learned that prosperity is part of divine government. That's what the manual of God's chosen warrior is about, a 10-step path to build kingdom prosperity, break scarcity, and walk in financial abundance with purpose. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. Click there and begin your journey toward divine prosperity and leadership. Chosen one, understand that governance begins within. Before you administrate cities, you must administrate your inner life. The discipline you cultivate now over your time, your words, your relationships, is not optional. It is prophetic. It proves you are ready for weightier authority. Heaven has been teaching you self-government because without it, any throne becomes a trap. This is the mystery behind your long preparation. The eyes of heaven never stop watching, but they watch to promote, not to police. God has been waiting for the moment when your inner structure could hold the outer mandate. That moment is near. The prophecy you carry is not about elevating one person. It is about activating a generation. You are a prototype. Your obedience will make it easier for others to step into their mandates without compromise. This is why your story matters beyond your own destiny. When you walk into systems with integrity, you create a pathway for others to follow. Heaven calls you not just to be exceptional, but to be an example. You are the evidence that God can still raise leaders who refuse to bow to idols and yet carry influence in high places. Chosen one. The season of hiding is closing. The system has already recorded enough data on you to know you are different. Now, heaven will use that same spotlight to reveal its design. Every misinterpretation will become an introduction. Every attempt to frame you will become the frame through which your true purpose is displayed. This is not a time to shrink back. It is a time to stand in quiet boldness, fully aware that you represent a kingdom that cannot be shaken. The prophecy of power you carry was never meant to stay invisible. It was meant to transform policies, cultures, and hearts. The government's fear of you will become a testimony. They feared what they could not control, but soon they will respect what they cannot deny. As your influence unfolds, remember this: humility will keep you elevated. Do not fight for platforms. Let platforms be drawn to the weight of your preparation. When they come, speak as one who carries heaven's counsel. Your words will be more than speech. They will be decrees that shift atmospheres. This is what it means to rule under divine command. Not to dominate people, but to serve nations with wisdom that comes from above. Chosen one. Lift your eyes. The same God who allowed you to be watched has also surrounded you with unseen protection. No plot will prevail. No scheme will prosper. You are stepping into the fulfillment of a word that was spoken over you before you were formed. This is your time to rise not as a rebel, but as a ruler under the government of God. Walk with courage, speak with clarity, and act with discernment. For the prophecy of power within you is no longer a secret. It is a summons. The systems of this world are trembling because heaven has decided to manifest through you. Chosen one, heaven is now issuing a decree that will redefine how you understand authority. You have walked through the season of testing, and now the seal of divine government is being placed upon you. The Spirit declares that you are no longer merely a believer. You are an administrator of heaven's will. Every system that resisted you is being summoned to yield. This is the fulfillment of promises made long before you understood your calling. What once felt like spiritual warfare was the birth of jurisdiction. God is not sending you to shout against nations. He is sending you to speak for them. The power flowing through you is restorative, not destructive. It carries the DNA of redemption. When you move now, you do not move as one seeking validation. You move as one carrying the signature of divine approval. The decree is this: divine authority is being transferred from those who abused influence to those who remained faithful in secret. This is a shift of spiritual power, not through politics, but through providence. The Father is repossessing systems that were used for oppression and placing them under the stewardship of the righteous. You, chosen one, are part of that redistribution. The throne you will sit on may not look like a chair in a palace. It may be a boardroom, a courtroom, a platform, or a pulpit, but it will carry the same weight of command. The words that leave your mouth will echo like legislation in the Spirit. You are heaven's lawmaker on earth, decreeing justice where corruption once ruled. Listen carefully, for heaven speaks again. Wisdom must now govern your every step. The same discernment that preserved Joseph in Egypt and Daniel in Babylon must now operate through you. God is not calling you to expose everything you see, but to reform everything you touch. Your strategy will not be confrontation, but infiltration. Righteousness, entering systems like light through glass. The wisdom of serpents and the innocence of doves will walk hand in hand within you. Heaven does not send warriors to destroy cities. It sends ambassadors to transform them. You are one of those ambassadors, carrying both sword and scepter, judgment and mercy balanced in one spirit. The government of heaven is rewriting laws in the unseen realm. Where corruption was once tolerated, truth will now reign. Where greed dictated policy, generosity will take root. This is not poetic imagery. It is divine administration unfolding. Nations will experience sudden reversals of power, and those who bowed to injustice will see righteousness rise through unexpected leaders. Men and women who carry the same mark you carry. You are part of a prophetic generation assigned to reframe civilization itself. And though the world may call it reform, heaven calls it fulfillment. Chosen one, your identity is not of this world. You are not a religious symbol. You are a legal representative of a celestial kingdom. When you speak, heaven listens. When you act, heaven records. When you walk, heaven moves with you. This is what it means to be an ambassador, to embody divine government in human form. Every environment you enter must eventually yield to the order of the one you represent. That is why the system tried to study you. It could sense a higher protocol operating through you. You are carrying the foreign policy of heaven: justice, integrity, mercy, and truth. Live them and watch entire regions shift without noise or rebellion. Now hear the deeper mystery. God is restoring the original intent of government: to serve, not to enslave. When He raises a chosen one, He does not reject authority. He reclaims it. You are being sent to model leadership under divine order, to show that governance can exist without corruption, and that power can coexist with humility. This is the true prophecy of power, that authority and righteousness are one. As you rise, do not forget that you are both ruler and servant. You reign best when you serve most. The eyes that once watched you will now look to you for guidance. Be ready to lead not by coercion, but by example. Heaven's throne backs your every step, and its justice flows through your every word. Chosen one, the time has come to apply this revelation not as theory, but as transformation. The Spirit of God is calling you to embody what you believe. This is the transition from receiving revelation to becoming revelation. Everything you have heard must now take form in how you live, decide, and lead. Your workplace, your home, your sphere of influence, all of it is the territory of your governance. Do not wait for the world to change. You are the change the world was promised. The prophetic power within you is not a cloud of emotion, but a structure of wisdom. When you act with justice, heaven moves with precision. When you show mercy, heaven multiplies influence. You are the vessel through which divine policy is implemented. This is your assignment: to demonstrate that holiness is not retreat, but rulership through love and truth. With great calling comes great accountability. The authority you carry is not ornamental. It is functional. Heaven has trusted you with the ability to create outcomes, to open and close doors through discernment and decree. This is why your words matter more than ever. Speak only when led, act only when sure, and move only when sent. Each moment of obedience becomes a brick in the architecture of your destiny. The government that feared your rise will now respect your restraint. They will see that divine power does not destroy, it restores. Remember, your composure under pressure is the language of kings. Your calm in chaos is proof of divine government operating through you. The years you spent misunderstood were not wasted. They were the foundation of credibility. People may have dismissed you when you were silent, but heaven was building trust. Now that your voice carries influence, every syllable must serve a purpose higher than opinion. You are not here to argue. You are here to align. The chosen one governs by presence before speech. Walk with the stillness of one who knows heaven keeps record of every decision. The systems that once mocked you will begin to mimic you. This is how reformation spreads, quietly, effectively, through integrity. Your leadership will not announce itself. It will be recognized by results. Chosen one, the persecution you endured was never meant for your destruction. It was divine preparation in disguise. Heaven allowed the fires of scrutiny so that you would emerge refined, not broken. Every misunderstanding became a mirror to reveal your motives. Every rejection a tool to purify your vision. You were never being punished. You were being processed. What looked like silence from heaven was actually God rewriting your inner architecture. The pressure you faced carved out the depth you now carry. You have been trained to discern not only the intentions of others, but the whispers of eternity. That discernment is your crown, for only those who can see beyond pain can govern with compassion. You are not merely surviving persecution, you are being sanctified by it. The scrutiny of men became the curriculum of heaven. Every rumor sharpened your hearing. Every false judgment disciplined your emotions. The resistance was the anvil upon which your authority was forged. You were targeted because your existence challenges the counterfeit structures of power. The system could not comprehend how someone untrained by their institutions could carry such clarity, such conviction, such unshakable peace. But heaven's education happens in wildernesses, not in universities. The same way Joseph's integrity in the prison prepared him for the palace, your hidden obedience has prepared you for governance. When those who once judged you come seeking your counsel, do not gloat. Serve. For your humility will be the sign that you were shaped by heaven, not by bitterness. Authority without empathy becomes tyranny, but you have been entrusted with both. The pain you endured was heaven's way of expanding your heart without compromising your spirit. You can now lead without arrogance, correct without cruelty, and influence without manipulation. The fragrance of your wisdom will reach even those who once resisted you, for true wisdom attracts even its enemies. When you stand before those who doubted your calling, remember the story of Joseph, the ruler who forgave. He interpreted the dreams of a nation that once confined him. His leadership was not revenge, it was redemption. Let that be your model, to conquer not by intimidation, but through service. Your mercy will prove your maturity, and your restraint will confirm your reign. The government of heaven is not in search of performers, but of preservers, custodians of divine order who govern as servants of purpose, not seekers of glory. You are one of them. The authority resting on your shoulders carries responsibility, not entitlement. Every resource, opportunity, and connection that will soon enter your hands is not to elevate your image, but to extend God's influence. Prosperity under heaven's order is never ornamental, it is operational. Wealth, influence, and favor are spiritual instruments disguised as material blessings. Use them wisely. They are the proof of trust, not the reward of striving. You prosper so that others may taste freedom through your stewardship, so that justice may flow through your integrity, and so that systems may reform under your obedience. Heaven measures success differently than the world. It is not applause that confirms your rise, but alignment. The chosen one's greatness is not in being known, but in being true. God will test your purity with influence, your humility with recognition, and your consistency with abundance. As you ascend, let discernment guide every partnership, and let peace dictate every step. The Spirit will instruct you in managing decisions with prophetic precision. The time for striving is over. This is the era of flow. Your influence will not need to be forced. It will multiply naturally, like light expanding without effort. Stay faithful to the covenant that formed you in obscurity. For the same hand that hid you is now revealing you, and the same fire that tested you is the glory that will now surround you. You are being drawn into divine alliances. Heaven is uniting chosen ones across nations, leaders, thinkers, intercessors, innovators, each carrying a fragment of the same mandate. You will begin to recognize them by spirit, not by appearance. Together, you will form an unseen network of influence, subtle yet unstoppable. This unity will not be institutional, but spiritual. It will move beneath politics, beyond religion, and above manipulation. It will be a prophetic government hidden within existing structures, preparing the world for divine reformation. When you discern these connections, honor them. They are heaven's infrastructure for the coming era. Chosen one, stand firm. The systems that once defined you no longer own you. You belong to a higher order. The earth is groaning for righteous rulers, and heaven is responding through you. Guard your purity, protect your peace, and cultivate your wisdom. These are your weapons now. You are a ruler clothed in humility, a warrior who fights with light, a leader whose steps are measured by heaven's rhythm. The prophecy of power within you is alive. It breathes through your choices, your relationships, your leadership. You are no longer waiting for permission. Heaven has already decreed your release. Walk into your assignment with reverence and resolve, for your reign has already begun. Chosen one. Now the Spirit brings closure to what was once confusion. Every unanswered question, every closed door, every betrayal that seemed senseless is now being revealed as divine construction. You were never lost. You were being positioned. The observation of men was not meant to shame you, but to display you when the season matured. What once appeared as rejection was heaven's preservation. You are stepping into a period of recognition, where the invisible labor of your faith will manifest as undeniable fruit. This is not coincidence. It is covenant fulfillment. The Lord of hosts has written your name on assignments that cannot be transferred, and now those assignments are awakening. What has been delayed is being delivered. The favor that once seemed withheld is being multiplied. This is the hour when the chosen ones rise not in pride, but in precision. Remember this truth, chosen one. The highest form of government is service. True power does not need to boast. It reveals itself through stability, compassion, and righteous decision. You were tested not to prove your strength, but to refine your heart. God's greatest leaders are those who can hold authority without seeking attention. You are now being trusted with influence that will touch policy, economy, and culture, not because you demanded it, but because you endured with integrity. The trials you faced have made you immune to the seduction of control. You lead now with a healed perspective. Your strength is your calm. Your weapon is your wisdom. You no longer react. You respond. You no longer compete. You create. This is divine governance in motion. Chosen one, the atmosphere around you is shifting. Even those who once ignored your presence will begin to sense the weight of heaven resting on your life. The way you walk into a room will alter conversations. You will not need to announce your purpose. The Spirit will do that for you. This is the manifestation of authority that does not shout but governs. You are entering a realm where your words carry supernatural precision, no longer emotional, but legislative. The government feared your voice because it carries creative power. When you decree peace, confusion dissolves. When you speak justice, hidden things are exposed. You are the evidence that the kingdom of God is not distant, but active. Every act of obedience will now carry acceleration. Every step will echo beyond your lifetime. Heaven now releases one more layer of instruction. Guard your alliances. Not everyone can walk with you in this next dimension of influence. Authority attracts attention, but not all attention is divine. You will need discernment sharper than before, for flattery often disguises manipulation. Walk with those who carry purpose, not those who crave proximity. The chosen cannot be surrounded by the careless. Protect the purity of your mission. God is sending strategic partnerships, people who speak the same spiritual language of destiny and governance. Together, you will build, reform, and restore. But you must recognize them by spirit, not by status. Heaven's alliances are built on trust, not titles. And now, hear the decree from the throne. The years of obscurity have accomplished their purpose. The eyes that watched you will now witness your appointment. The very systems that resisted your rise will soon depend on your counsel. Every delay was divine choreography. You are not late. You are right on time. The season of explanation is over. The era of manifestation has begun. Stand still in reverence and watch as heaven vindicates you publicly. The prophecy of power has matured, and its fruit will feed generations. You are the embodiment of that prophecy, not its spectator, but its fulfillment. Chosen one, if you have ears to hear, receive this final revelation. The government of heaven does not just rest upon your shoulders, it flows through your obedience. You are no longer a hidden seed, but a visible system of divine order. Your assignment is to govern through goodness, to lead through wisdom, and to restore through righteousness. Everything that once confined you is now your field of influence. Walk with humility, for your presence is prophetic. You are no longer being targeted, you are being trusted, and the world will know that the reason you were watched was because heaven had already marked you as one who carries the prophecy of power. Chosen one, as we enter the final moments of this transmission, heaven draws your attention to stewardship. You are about to handle more responsibility, more visibility, and more resources than you have ever known. This is not a reward for endurance alone. It is a divine assignment. Prosperity under God's government is not indulgence, but evidence. Evidence that righteousness produces abundance, and wisdom creates stability. When the resources come, treat them as sacred tools, not personal trophies. They are instruments for building, freeing, and restoring. The wealth, the platforms, the influence about to come into your hands are not ends in themselves. They are proof that heaven's principles work on earth. This is the hour for wise management, for transparency, for generosity. This is how you will demonstrate to governments and systems that the kingdom of God is not only holy, but effective. If this message spoke to your spirit, don't ignore it. God is calling you to rise in authority and prosperity, to lead, to create, and to manage the blessings He's placing in your hands. The Manual of God's Chosen Warrior is your next step. 10 practical and spiritual lessons to activate divine abundance and financial freedom in your life. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. Take it today and step into the prosperity and power God designed for you. And now, chosen one, as this word closes, receive this blessing. May your mind be sharpened with heaven's wisdom. May your hands be strengthened for divine work. May your heart remain uncorrupted by power. And may your steps be directed into rooms where your voice will carry the weight of justice and mercy. May every plot against you dissolve, every false accusation fall to the ground, and every door meant for your assignment swing open. You are stepping out of surveillance into stewardship, out of testing into territory. The prophecy of power is not future tense, it is present reality. You are its living manifestation. This is your call to action. As a prophetic act of agreement, declare in the comments, "I rise to govern." Type it as a seal. When you write it, heaven records your alignment. Like this message and subscribe, not as routine but as an act of faith, strengthening the voice that strengthens your assignment. And if this transmission has spoken to your destiny, consider supporting this work through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Your support is not charity, it is partnership with heaven's agenda. Together we amplify the sound of destiny for the chosen ones across the earth. Finally, hear the decree from the throne. You are not being watched because you are weak. You were watched because you were marked. The government targeted you because you carry God's prophecy of power. Now step into your assignment with reverence and resolve. Heaven has moved its seal from promise to performance. The era of hiddenness is over. Walk forward, chosen one, for your reign under God's government has begun.